Live in 5, 4, 3. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Chaos Live. Get the music going in the background. Give us a little mood music to going on. So welcome to Chaos Live, the little fun Q&A where I get to hang out with you guys, answer some questions, do all that kind of fun stuff. As usual, if you're new to this, kind of thing, if you leave your questions down in the chat, I'll try to get to them. Sometimes the chat goes too fast and I can't get to all of them. How's the music sound, by the way? Let me know if it's too loud or what the deal is. Trying the same kind of thing where I use my little subscription service that I have to kind of provide the ambient music in the background, so that way you have some nice chill. It's not really chill. I think I have a rock station going on right now. So what's happening? Welcome to the chat. We got Thomas, was one of the first ones in here. Dragon Actual, a really long name that ends in yeah. Said what's up. We got Josh T. We got Al. We got Walter. We got Shadow. We got Prince. Was it Kathy God? Never Too Late. All you guys are awesome. Welcome. I'm glad you guys were early and here hanging out in the chat. So let's get this going. How's everyone's evening going tonight? Go through. I'll see what we got for questions and stuff in here. We got Dragon Actual doing finals. Man, it's rough times. Rough times. Good evening, Chris. What's happening, Sabrina? Do MPs carry firearms when on duty? Yes, they do. They're just like cops, so they would still have firearms. So they still walk around with firearms. Music is good. Awesome. Thanks, Thomas. Appreciate the help out on the check. Same with Hawkeyes Johnson. Says the music is good. Sweet. So good. How to become the Sergeant Major of the Army? It's a tough thing. I mean, you have to be in the Army for quite a while, move up to rank at least of a Sergeant Major, and then from there, I think you have to be nominated. I think it's the way it works. Usually, higher up people will determine that, hey, this Sergeant Major would be a good Sergeant Major of the Army. So it's a selection process that they have to go through to be able to do so. So I imagine it's pretty tough. Do you ever have to do driver duty? What the hell's driver duty? You mean like driving people? Sometimes. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're talking about with driver duty though. Are there any jobs in the Army that involve trains or locomotives? There is. What is that MOS? It's an 88 series one. 88 series MOS. I forget which one what it is. There's one of them though that involves like with trains. Railway equipment repairer, 88 Papa. Railway section repairer, 88 Tango. Railway operator crew member, 88 uniform. And I think that's it. So it's an 88 series MOS. So is it weird with lyrics though? This song's got lyrics. Let me know if it's weird if it's got lyrics in the background though. Does that throw it off? I just pick a random playlist to try to go through. I'm 14, about joining the Marines. Are there any ways to join as a higher rank? I'm not sure what the requirements for the Marines, like if the same ones equate, probably not the same way as the Army. I'm sure they have some kind of transition like the Army does. I don't know if it equals the same rank though. But I'd imagine like being an Eagle Scout, having ROTC, JROTC, college, definitely will, but how much rank you'll get to come in as just depends. So I thought I saw somebody who was new. I was gonna say what's up to that person who said they were new. Where was it at? I thought I saw someone in here said they were new to Chaos Live, and I wanted to say what's up, but I can't see where I went to. Or was that later on? I don't know. Sorry if I missed it. I did see it earlier, but I just didn't see who it was. I agree with Jay the Vorn. Make sure you hit that like button. Welcome, Jay the Vorn, by the way. So if you're here, you're having a good time, hit that like button. Lyrics are fine, but maybe just music could be better. Yeah, this song's kind of weird. Let's pick a different track. Let's try. I don't know what would be a good one. Because this is like a weird, almost like punkish. I wanted like a hard rock album. Let's do this post rock. We'll try that out. we'll try that out for a little bit and we'll see how that goes. What's your favorite song at the moment? Probably either like America by Motionless in White, or maybe let's see, or Crushed by Parkway Drive. I don't know. What's up? Was it Kokomo Kent? What's happening? Things getting better. Thank you for suggestions about going to Air Force recruiter office and just show up and ask questions. It worked. Awesome. Good job. Never too late. Oh, that's right. You're. I checked out your YouTube channel. It was cool. You're kind of working on, kind of trying to get into the military, but you're having problems, right? Because they were saying you're overweight, but it's because you're like really buff. So. But I'm glad it's working out. Yeah, there's situations I've seen before in the Army and other branches too, where someone's just big because they work out a lot, not because they're fat, but because they work out a lot. And they have this other system called the tape measurement, where they do your neck and your chest and your waist and everything like that. And that kind of somewhat determines your body fat. It's not very accurate, but it's the way they do it. And if you meet those standards, then you're still fine. So that's a lot of times what you have to do is you have to go in there and show them, hey, look, I weigh a lot, but I'm not fat. I just work out a lot. So you have to kind of like let them understand it. You try to tell them over the phone, they're like, no, this guy says he's 200 and something pounds, he's fat, we're not letting him in. So you have to kind of like let them see for themselves, be like, oh, I get it now. And that probably helps out. Got back from training a few weeks ago. Oh, were you doing a field problem, or were you in the military already, or pre-military? This doesn't sound very post-rock. This is like weird. What is this? It's like dreamy. That's not what I want. We need something. Let's do headbangers. Let's try headbangers. Headbangers got to be something good. That should be good. What are your thoughts on Canadian Navy? I don't know. I don't think I've ever met anybody Canadian Army, Canadian Marines, or anything. So I don't really have a good kind of perspective on that, I guess. What is a government contractor? I am a government contractor. But essentially is what it is the military will award different government, style companies like Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, that do a lot of work for the government, different contracts, and then those people have to have their own employees. So say like Northrop Grumman, for example, gets a contract with the Army to do some kind of training on a military installation, then the Army pays that company the money that it'll, for however long the contract is supposed to be for them to pay their employees to do the job that they won the contract for, and then those employees that are under that company are government contractors. So there you go. I am a government contractor. Didn't finish my bachelor's but have credits. Which rank will I start with after tech school and Air Force? Thank you. I don't know for Air Force. I'm not too sure. Your college credits should equal something though, so it'll allow you to come in a little bit higher than just having to start at the very bottom of the barrel. But what in the Air Force it'll start you off on, I don't know. You'd have to probably look it up online. I'm sure you can probably Google it and look to see if it's accurate or not or what. But it's just, I suggest the album To Be Anywhere Is To Be Nowhere by the band Thrice. I think it would be up your alley. I like Thrice. Thrice is cool. Can't play it on the live stream, but late again, Hugh. Oh, man, we're already, how long? 9 minutes into the stream. 9 minutes into the stream. You're 9 minutes late. So we're doing pretty good. It was a little bit later of an evening kind of live stream. You guys cool with that? I was pretty busy today. For those of you who maybe have followed me in the past for a while or whatever, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but I am editing and directing a DVD for a band, fairly famous-ish band. They were really big in the early 2000s. Not quite as huge because it was not the same kind of genre of music isn't quite as popular as it used to be back then. But it's a band called Saving Abel, and I am friends with those guys, and so I'm doing the DVD for them. So I've been busy working on that. I stayed up super late last night working on it, all day today working on it. So I've been doing that. So that's why the stream was a little bit later today, because I've been so busy today working on that DVD that we're hoping to have out next year, early next year is the goal. So did you hear about the current Army Chief of Staff being nominated to be the next chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff? Oh, interesting. Because right now, the current one is a Marine guy. And I think it's been a while since it's been an Army guy. No, that the previous guy before this one was an Army guy. So that's cool. That's good. Do you know anything about firefighters in the Army? Not really. They work in the fire station. They'll sometimes work with a mixture of civilians, I believe. But I don't know a whole lot about them too much. So I enlisted a few months ago and went to Cav Scout training at Fort Benning. Well, awesome. 19 Delta. So cool. That's awesome then. Cav Scouts are pretty cool. I've got quite a few friends that were Cav Scouts and stuff in the Army. Do I support President Trump? I don't do politics. I'm not a political person. I just hope whoever the hell the president is does a good job and doesn't screw a bunch of stuff up or cost me more money in taxes or whatever. But for the most part, I don't really pay attention to politics and get all involved with that. Lights are blinking because our man Edward has joined the chat. The man with the super chat addiction. But I love it. I mean, it's great. Just don't go broke. Well, what's happening, Edward, with the $5 donation here in Chaos Live? My parents didn't me in Ox Coast Guard reserves. They fear it will interfere with college. Any advice for talking to them? Is 5 to 10 hours a problem? 5 to 10 hours a day? Or are you just 5 to 10 hours in that auxiliary Coast Guard? Because that's not, I guess, I don't know. That's not too bad. But I don't know, because I don't really have any experience with that, like auxiliary Coast Guard or auxiliary anything. So I really don't know like what that lifestyle is like too much. But from what I understand, it's just like a volunteer-based kind of thing where you don't actually get paid for it. But if you're going to try to do college and that, and you're trying to convince your parents it's going to be okay to do that, I don't know, maybe have them talk to one of the people that you've talked to about joining or something like that. Maybe then they'll understand it. Maybe then they can ask that person questions, see if that person's willing to come by the house or whatever. Maybe you can do that. Maybe just gather up some more information. I don't know. I don't really know because I don't know a whole lot about any of those organizations. But hopefully it works out for you. I know you've been pretty passionate about it and about wanting to do some kind of military type of thing, but not actually Army or Air Force, but one of those auxiliary ones. Hopefully it works out well. What will next MOS Monday? I haven't looked it up yet. I need to look through the comments to see what the most requested one is, because that's basically what I'm doing right now, is just trying to cover all the big requests from you guys. Whatever the most requested MOS is, try to get through those first, and then once the, I guess, suggestions start dying out because you guys run out of ideas, then I'll start hitting up some of the other ones that are just at random. But for now, a lot of you request different ones, and I just try to look through the comments of like the recent ones to see which MOS most people are asking for or liking that someone commented on. So that's basically how I make the decision. So if you have an MOS you're interested in and you see somebody else is, requesting for that MOS, like their comment, and also maybe leave a comment as well to say what it is that you're interested in knowing more about. So, but yeah, I've decided which one it's going to be yet. I need to shoot it probably tomorrow. Have you ever been pepper sprayed? If so, what does it feel like? I've never been pepper sprayed. I've been through CS gas. CS gas sucks. So, but I don't know what pepper spray is like. Had you ever been demoted? Nope. I did pretty good. I went from E1 all the way to E5. No demotions, no Article 15s, nothing. Are your eyes open or closed during a pepper spray test? I think you close your eyes and then they have you open your eyes though. So it still runs into your eyes, but they don't do directly into your eyes because that can be kind of damaging, I think. Potentially, I don't know. I think the effects would be a lot worse, but I think they usually have you close your eyes, they spray you, and they only do it with certain people, like MPs would have to do this. You have to do this if you want to be an MP. But they'll, I think, close your eyes, spray you, and then they make you open up your eyes and do stuff. So 5 to 10 hours a week. Oh, that's not bad, Edward. That's not too bad if you're only having to do 5 to 10 hours a week plus doing college. It's not too bad, especially, like, I don't know if you get to pick the days or if it's a set day, or that doesn't seem like it'd be too bad. So not bad. Hey Chaos, have you ever seen activities like karate or kung fu available on post for kids? I'm trying to think. I could see it being something they could do, like especially like maybe like not really outdoor rec, but maybe certain things at gyms. I wouldn't think it would be not possible, but I can't remember if it's a thing or not. It probably just depends on if there's someone there to organize it. So not every post would have something like that. to be able to have like karate or kickboxing or anything like that, or kung fu for kids on base. It probably just depends on if someone is on post to be able to organize it, maybe at a gym or somewhere like that. I did my basic training at Fort McLennan. That's awesome. I've never been there. Never been to that place. How is the Coast Guard in your opinion? Do you recommend it? I have no idea what the Coast Guard would be like. If you're a good swimmer, then I'm sure it's probably great. You have to do a lot of swimming. I think they even have like a swimming physical fitness test along with it as well. I'm originally from some country from Middle East, and I would love to be deployed to Middle East. What are the chances? A lot of this stuff has kind of died down a little bit right now. There's some people that are going to Kuwait for like a little bit sometimes to kind of help out with different things and do training. There's still a few units that are deploying to Afghanistan, but that's mainly it. It's not quite as active as it used to be, where a lot of units are going to Iraq and Afghanistan. So it's a little bit died down, so I would imagine the chances are a little bit lower, not impossible, but a little bit lower than they used to be. I do a lot of guys that came in the Marine Corps to the Army. The reason they came to the Army, they couldn't get promoted no more in the Marine Corps. Yeah, from what I understand, it's pretty difficult. I know quite a couple people that have done that as well, where they used to be in the Marines and they transferred to the Army because it was just too difficult to get promoted in the Marines. Where it's a little bit easier apparently to get promoted in the Army, mainly for like the higher ranking ones. Usually most of the people that I knew were like E4s in the Marines, and then they were having a hard time making E5, and so they would come to the Army because it was a little bit easier to get promoted to a sergeant in the Army compared to their E5 in the Marines. So CS gas is fun. That stuff sucks. I've only had to really deal with it maybe a handful of times. I had to do it in basic, and had to do it. I didn't really have to do the gas chamber anymore, but there was a couple times where during field problems, they would throw like CS gas at you, which isn't quite as strong as like when you're in the gas chamber, because it's out in the open, so the wind can blow it around, so it's not quite as potent as when you're inside of a room. But then a lot of units will do like annual gas chamber training too. But the only time I really was in a unit that did that, I was the ammo person, so I was in charge of the ammo. So I usually didn't have to go through the gas chamber because I had to transport the ammo and then bring it back, and they didn't have me go through it because I have to be able to transport that stuff, and I can't be going into the ammo holding area and the ASP and all that stuff smelling like CS gas. What's the gas they put in the gas chamber during basic training? Yeah, it's CS gas. Can you explain changing the guard of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier? I don't know the whole process of that. It's a pretty complicated little process that high-speed soldiers do, so I don't know it. Do you think any wars will break out in the next 10 years involving us? You never know. I didn't know if there was going to be wars breaking out when I joined the Army. It's just the risk you have to take because that's what you're doing it for. But I don't know. You never know. Nobody can predict these things really. But it's possible, who knows? I mean, there could be stuff that could, stir up with Afghanistan again, with Iraq again, with other countries. Who knows? Maybe things don't work out with North Korea and we have to do some stuff with North Korea. You never know. You never can predict these things. Would a combat medic actually go on missions, or will they only be deployed to a combat zone? They'd still do missions. What do you mean? Would they only be deployed to a combat zone? No, I mean, you'd still do other deployments just like anybody else. It's just like any other unit. You have a medic platoon usually, or sometimes you have medic, companies. And then usually you have a medic embedded with like a convoy. So that if something goes wrong, then they have a medic with them. You have other medics that work inside of an aid station. You'll have other medics that work inside of a hospital. Medics work in a lot of different places. It just depends on the type of unit you're in sometimes. But they can go to combat zones, they can go to non-combat zones, all sorts of stuff. Is it true you rank up just because you do a certain amount of years, or at least up to E4 in the Army? Yeah, basically from E1 to E4 is a fairly automatic promotion type of thing. And then After that, you have to go through a board selection. Lights blinking again because of Edward. Let me finish up with this question. I'll get to you, Edward. But so E1 through E4 is a pretty automatic thing based on how long you've been in the Army, how long you've been at that rank. And then you can get waivers to get promoted early, but you can only get one waiver. So like if you haven't been in the Army long enough, but you have been at that rank long enough, then maybe you can get a waiver for your time in service, but you can't get a waiver for both. You have to meet one of those requirements. But then once you try to move up for sergeant and then on, then it's a little bit different of a process. So that one still has like a time limit period that you're supposed to go by as far as how long you've been in the Army, how long you've been at that rank. But then you have to usually go to a board or you have to be selected for the rank. And it's just a little bit more complicated of a process. But usually E1 through E4 is a fairly easy process. As long as you're not getting in trouble, you should have no problem getting E4. And then beyond E4 is where it starts getting a little bit more work, a little bit harder to do. So Edward has got the $2 donation. What rank gets BAH? How long from E4 to E5? So BAH you get, it's the housing allowance. And you get that if you're married or if you have children. That's for starters, for as E1. Then if you get higher in ranks, then you can get BAH. Usually for some units it's E6, for some it's E7. It depends on sometimes the availability in the barracks. Sometimes if the barracks are pretty full, they don't want E6s being in the barracks. Some units just don't want E6s in the barracks at all for staff sergeant. And so they'll start giving them BAH to live off post. And then other units require them to be an E7 before they start giving them BAH. And then how long from E4 to E5? I'd have to look it up. If you look up online, I think I talked about it in my rank video, my old school video from last year that explains Army rank. I think I talked about the time requirement from E4 to E5, but I don't remember what it is. For the Army, it's going to be, one thing. For Air Force, it's going to be a different standard. So that's the key thing is I talk about Army stuff here. So if you want to know Army stuff, that's what I'm referring to. And so for Army, I think it's like, what is it, 2, 3? I think it's 3 years. 3 years time in grade or time in service, and then 1 year time in grade or something like that. I don't remember. I'm not for sure. I'm just trying to remember. But I'd have to look it up. I don't have it memorized. But then it's not as easy as just that time service. So for E4 to E5, you have to go to a board. And you have to go in front of a board. You get drilled on a bunch of questions. And if they feel you're knowledgeable enough, then they'll recommend you for that promotion. But then from there, you still have to go to a school. It's called BLC, the Basic Leaders Course. Back when I was in, it was PLDC, the Primary Leadership Development Course. But now it's BLC. And then after you pass that, then you still have to make points. And there's a certain amount of point criteria based on how many people they need at that rank. And things that factor into those points are like your PT test, if you have any kind of civilian education or military education, awards, all that stuff builds points. Also how well you did on the board builds a certain amount of points. And that'll allow you to be able to make that criteria to get promoted to a sergeant from an E4. So there's a lot of a big process into it. Joel, what's happening? A lot of combat medics don't even go to combat right now, mainly just because there's not a lot of deployments going on. Like when I was in, everybody had a combat patch, so there was a lot of combat medics going on deployments because a lot of people were going deployed. Nowadays, like I work on an Army base, I teach soldiers, and it's pretty rare now to see soldiers with a combat patch. The only people usually you're seeing now with combat patches are higher ranking people that were in like around the time that I was in, a few years back. So when Iraq and Afghanistan were pretty heavy, but now those have been pretty much chilled out. So there's not a lot of people with combat patches anymore. Usually advance to E4 after 2 years, most of the time sooner, yeah. So something usually around those lines. I think I got E4 probably about a little under 2 years or around 2 years. I think it was, because I think it was like 2002 because I joined in 99, the middle of 99, and I think it was sometime in 2002 before I went to Korea. They got promoted to specialist to an E4. So, Skechers Kid Gaming, what's happening? Welcome. When should you join the Army? I don't know. It's up whenever you want to join the Army. I mean, you have to at least be 17, but I guess it depends. Chris, question. Did you ever drive a goer vehicle? I don't even know what the hell a goer vehicle is. I feel like that's slang for something. I was going to look that up, but I don't think it's a acronym for a vehicle, is it? You're going to have to give me more explanation, Doug, as to what the heck a goer vehicle is. What is the structure of hand-to-hand combat in the Army? It's a little bit different now. Like towards my last few years in the Army, they switched from the old school way that I used to do it to Army Combatives. So Army Combatives is more of the hand-to-hand combat kind of training that you do in the Army, and it's basically, or it is actually, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Mario, thanks for subscribing, and welcome to Chaos Army if you're here in the live chat. I need to probably move that. Let's move that. Where's the alerts thing? It's like right on top of my face, man. Alerts, is that what it's called? Yes. We're gonna move it. So it won't be on top of my face if it pops up with someone subscribing. It's distracting. Okay, but yeah. That's what they mainly use. So it's basically Gracie Jiu-Jitsu that they use for hand-to-hand combat. It's Jiu-Jitsu. And that's what you'll do. I did level 1 combatives. It kind of sucked on the test, but it was cool to learn. The test was horrible. I hated doing the test. Do you miss being in the Army? No. I like being a civilian. I like having the freedom that I have. It was a good experience being in the Army. Don't get me wrong. And I wouldn't discourage someone from joining the Army. But after you've done it for so long, if it's not for you, then you definitely need to, go away from that lifestyle and do something else. And that's what I did. Does the Army offer cadets for people in high school? Well, a cadet is someone who's in college, so you can't do it in high school, if that's what you're trying to figure out. A cadet would be someone who's in the ROTC program in college to try to become an officer. Is MP a dangerous job? I would think it's pretty safe for being on a military base, but what do you think? I would imagine it still has, some level of, danger to it, just like any police work does, but I don't feel like it's quite as dangerous as like a civilian police officer, definitely. Yeah, so I would think it would be much safer than a civilian one. Edward blowing up the super chats again. Don't go broke, man. Don't go broke. But yeah, I would think it's safer than being a civilian officer. But not like completely safe, because there's still stuff that can happen. You could have still an active shooter that gets on base, or a civilian, that something happens where, someone was pissed at, someone else and they brought a gun on base or whatever. But yeah, I feel like the danger level would probably be much lower being an MP compared to being a police officer in a city. So Edward with a $2 donation, would you have enlisted if you have more options? I was enlisted. What do you mean? Would you have enlisted if you have more options? I mean, I did. I mean, it's better to have more options. So that's always good. It's just a matter of scoring well in the ASVAB to get a bunch of options available to you. But I didn't have a whole lot of options available to me. I just kind of took whatever I could get to get in the Army, get the experience, and possibly go to college afterwards. But my 4-year idea turned into a 10-year plan. So, but if that's what you mean, I'm not sure. No, I've never heard of an MP getting killed into a shooting here in the States. Yeah, so there probably isn't. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard of an MP. I mean, I'm sure it probably has happened, but it's probably just definitely doesn't happen as often as a police officer in the civilian workforce. So you don't hear about it, so you don't think it ever happens. But I'm sure it does. It's probably just very rare. So, yeah, I would imagine it's probably pretty rare. Are there applications for Command Sergeant Major? No, I think you have to be nominated. I think someone has to nominate you. I'm not sure exactly on the process, though. Goer is slang for the M520 truck. See, now you gotta look that up, too. What is the M520, huh? What does this thing look like? That's old school, man. I don't think that thing exists. Let me show you guys what I'm seeing here. The Goer. That looks super old school. Like, some of these pictures don't look super old, but I don't know if people still have them like laying around. Because some of these pictures look fairly newish, but yeah, that looks like an old vehicle that would have been retired a long time ago. What'd they use it for? Oh, it's the Gamma Goat kind of? Oh, it's like the Gamma Goat, I guess. Interesting vehicle, man. Nope, I have never driven such a thing. I've driven these things. This is a PLS. This one a PLS, or no, it's the three axles. I think that's the PLS. I think 2 axles the LHS. Those things are kind of cool. They got these big rack that this arm they can lower and raise the rack, so you have all your cargo mounted onto here, and then when you go to drop off the cargo, you just drop the rack on the ground, take all the stuff off of it, or leave the rack, whatever you got to do. And then if you're picking up racks, then it's pretty cool too. This is a pretty cool vehicle. But I did use those vehicles a lot when I was in the Army, the PLS and the LHS. What are your thoughts on anti-military YouTube channels? I don't even know if I've seen any. There's anti-military. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. So I'm sure I wouldn't doubt that it exists. But you know what, people, you know, it's this thing about, you know, you gotta respect freedom of speech. So if they have their reasons for hating the military, then they're allowed to, I guess, express that. You know, I'm not gonna watch it, but you know, I don't know. I think that, you know, people should be allowed to express their feelings or their, you know, how they feel about, you know, an organization or whatever, as long as it's not trying to inflict harm on somebody. You know, then I think that crosses a line. If you're trying to inflict harm on somebody or trying to encourage people to inflict harm on an organization or whatever because of your views and thoughts, then that's crossing the line. But if you're just simply stating your distaste in an organization or a group or whatever, then that's just freedom of speech, I guess. Some countries don't have that, but drug and alcohol abuse in the Army, it happens. It's a lot stricter now than when I was in the Army. Like especially like drug abuse, like if people came up hot for drugs, they would, you know, bust you all the way down to E1, you do extra duty and all that kind of stuff, and have to work your way back up. Nowadays, for any drugs as well as like DUIs, they'll kick you out of the Army for that stuff now. So they're a lot more stricter than when I was in, you know, several years back. Not several, I guess it's been a little while, but been in the Army out of the Army now for what, 8 years now, 7 years. So it's been a while. But I still work around the Army, so I still stay fairly relevant on a lot of Army stuff because I train soldiers and stuff. Were you in Forces Command? No idea what you're talking about. Forces Command? Like an organization? I don't know what you're talking about. What does a platoon leader do? That would be a lieutenant. So a little bit of background for that. Like, officers have different roles that they have to play to be able to get promoted. Usually when a lieutenant first comes in the Army, they start off doing a staff position, and then they'll usually go into platoon leader time. And before they can, you know, get that platoon leader time, then they can go on to it like an XO, and then maybe get promoted to captain sometime after that. But when they're in that platoon leader role, it's an admin kind of role, sort of, to the platoon. That person is basically in charge of the platoon still, but the platoon sergeant is doing more of the running of the platoon, the day-to-day life, or the day-to-day, you know, tasks of the platoon. But the platoon leader overall is still in charge of it. They'll receive, you know, the orders from the commander and kind of, you know, maybe brief it to the platoon sergeant. They'll maybe be kind of a little bit more of the logistics of planning the training, but alongside still with the platoon sergeant. But you have the platoon sergeant and the platoon leader that work together, but mainly the platoon leader is actually the one really in charge. I'm guessing you wouldn't get paid in basic training if there is a government shutdown. I leave a few weeks after the potential shutdown on December 21st. Yeah, it'll delay it. It'll delay your paycheck. It doesn't mean you won't ever get it, but it'll delay it. So yes, when you're in the Army, if you get stuck in a situation where you're in a government shutdown, you still have to work, you still have to show up to duty and everything. And if it happens to fall around the time frame of an upcoming pay period, then your paycheck might get delayed. So yeah, you'll still get it, it just might get delayed. And it depends on how long it lasts for as well. But I think it isn't, didn't they say it's like a partial shutdown? So I don't know, it just depends on what the partial shutdown, if it happens, would affect, I guess, as well. So, tough situation. I would think they would delay it if they didn't plan on paying you. No, they'll still make you go, probably. Yeah, I would imagine they would still make you go because they don't want to get behind on all that stuff and then have everybody backed up, because if they delay that basic training, that means they have to delay the next one as well, and so on and so forth. So it's a big chain effect that it would cause. So they would still have you go, but you would just not get your paycheck on time, you know, until the shutdown came up. So if for some reason, like, they've only had really one really long shutdown, was it back in the 90s, I think it was, where it lasted like, I forget how long it lasted for, but that one was the only one really that lasted a long time, I think. Every other one has only been maybe like a week or 2 weeks or something like that, or less. And so if it happened to fall on a pay period, then you might get it just a little bit later. But even if you had like one where it was several months long, once the shutdown was done, you're going to get all those paychecks all at once. So you're going to get one large check for all the pay periods you missed because of the shutdown. But yeah, they wouldn't delay your basic training. They would still probably have you go. Do you drive did you drive a 5-ton, a 915 during deployment, or just LHS? My first deployment, we had some HEMTs, some cargo HEMTs. What else did we have? We had some LMTVs, a few tractor trailers. I dealt a little bit with the tractor trailers. And that was mainly it for my first deployment. My second deployment, though, was pretty much all PLSs and LHSs, though, for that. I don't think we had any. We had maybe some LMTVs, but I don't think I did any of the missions with LMTVs really too much. Like, all of my missions were pretty much with PLSs. We already went through that playlist, man. Do we want to try another one, or do we just want to replay that one? What else do we have? Was there a page 2? Let's see what page 2 has to offer. Surfer City Metal. Oh, we got to do this metal one. All right, we'll do the metal one. I think we did this one last live stream. But hey, it worked. It was pretty good. Let's see. Do you think about National Guard? What do you think about the National Guard? Oh, what do I think about the National Guard? It seems like a pretty good option. I mean, your main job as a National Guard person is to react to natural disasters. So if they have something like a hurricane or earthquake, fires sometimes, then they have the National Guard kind of mainly deal with that. And then if there was something ever happened where you had some kind of invasion of the United States from another country, then they would still be focusing on that as well, because that's their job. But that doesn't really happen. But their main job is going to be those type of things. But they also do a lot of training. They have National Guard units that I think are down at the Mexican border for all that caravan thing that's going on or whatever. I think there's some that are down there for that. They've deployed National Guard people for when they had the floods down in Texas to help out with that. So that's mainly what your job is. So if you don't mind doing those kind of things, then that's what your primary job was. Some National Guard units will deploy to like Iraq or Afghanistan, but not as commonly as like they probably usually try to pull from reserve units over National Guard units. But there are some jobs that would be more likely to do that. So for example, I think like a 19 kilo is a tanker, right? So you don't really have much of a job as like if there's a hurricane or something like that to bring a tank to. So those people could still possibly deploy often to a war zone like in Iraq or Afghanistan if it came up. Do you have a favorite cadence? Not too much. I wasn't really a big fan of cadences. I always felt weird singing in formation. A lot of times I would fake it because I wasn't really a big fan of cadences. But I don't think I really had a favorite. There's some I can think of in my head that I remember were pretty cool. I don't remember what the name of them were or even how they went. I can kind of just somehow picture it, sort of. I don't know though. I didn't mind, like, it was kind of cool sometimes hearing like large groups of soldiers, singing a certain cadence, and it sounded cool. But I didn't really like participating in the singing of the cadence. I wasn't a fan of that. Let's see. Platoons can also be led by warrant officers. Yeah, in some rare cases, that can be a thing, but the most common is going to be a lieutenant. But yeah, it is possible to have warrant officers as a platoon leader, but those are pretty rare. Can you get demoted if you don't know faces? What the heck are you talking about? If you don't know faces? Can you get demoted if you don't know faces? Like if you don't know people? I wouldn't think so. I'm not sure what your question is though. But it sounds confusing. Here's a great marching cadence. There's a flea on the tick. Yeah, that's a complicated one. The one that Jay the Vorn is talking about, you had like this, it builds on the cadence, and then then you have to remember all these other ones, and that was rough. That's a complicated cadence, Jay the Vorn. Why did you start a YouTube channel? I really loved video production. I've actually been doing YouTube since 2000 and let's see, I was in Iraq when I started my first YouTube channel. So that would have been in 2006. So I've actually had a YouTube channel since 2006. Not this particular YouTube channel. It was an older channel that I was trying to do video production on. And I just liked creating videos. Even before YouTube, I was creating videos, but I would just share them online. Was MySpace? Yeah, I think MySpace was around then too. So sometimes I'd post videos to MySpace for my friends to see. And anything else is just really just making videos for people to see on my computer or put it on a disc for them. And then when YouTube came about, then it just gave me a platform to start sharing my videos with. So I was doing YouTube, yeah, since 2006. I even have, on this channel, I was doing vlogs for my transition out of the Army, but I really didn't know what I was doing, so I really didn't capitalize on it very well. If I knew like now what I know about YouTube, back then, I think this channel could have done really good back then and been a lot bigger now. But I really didn't know what the hell I was doing. I recorded a few boring stuff, and I didn't know how to storytell very well. I probably still don't have it down, but I feel like I have it down better than I did back then, at least. And I was doing vlogs back then. That was back in the late 2000, like maybe like 2008, 2009, around that time frame. I would start doing those. I think I even did some kind of like vlog style videos even before that too. But I didn't, like I said, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, so they didn't do very well. But yeah, I basically just started doing YouTube stuff, so I like the video production side of it, and like creating videos and editing and all that fun stuff. So, did I go to airborne school? I did not. I didn't do anything high speed. What do you teach soldiers? I teach a system called JCR and JBCP. Is what that is a navigation system that the Army uses to basically make sure they're going the right way, make sure they can see where friendlies are at, because it also shows other U.S. forces on the battlefield, so they can see where friendlies are at on the battlefield. They can send them messages, they can send up reports, so if they spot enemy, they can send a report through that system to be able to let everybody else know that, hey, there's enemy at this location, and I teach soldiers how to use that system. So that's what I do. It's a week-long course that soldiers go through to get certified, and I teach them how to use it, so at the end they can take a test and I grade them, and at the end most of them pass and get certified to be able to use the system. I'm going 12 Romeo electrician, so if another hurricane hits, I'll be busy. Yeah, that'd be pretty busy, especially like if you were in the National Guard. In the Army, you just do miscellaneous stuff here and there, but National Guard, I imagine that'd be pretty crazy, especially when you had like that hurricane that hit like the Florida area and hit Puerto Rico and everything. Imagine that's insane. If airborne is not in your contract, how do you go about getting it? Just be squared away and hope someone notices. Is there a packet or something to submit? So if you go and you don't get airborne into your contract, you can sometimes ask your drill sergeants to go to airborne school. Maybe afterwards, sometimes they can, you know, have some strings they can pull or know somebody or whatever and can put you in for it. But even that's, I don't know how common that is. They say you can do that. I don't know if that actually works though. But even when you go to your first unit, you could request it too. So you would, you know, tell your leadership, hey, I want to go to airborne school. And if they have the funds to be able to send people to airborne school, then they'll look at, you know, possible people to send to airborne school. But yeah, you kind of have to be squared away a little bit, because if you're, you know, messing up all the time, they're not going to reward you with going to a school you want to go to. So you got to still kind of keep your nose clean as well. But yeah, they kind of, you know, put in for that. You know, your unit will. If they have the funds to send people to airborne school, then they'll do so. Working on super chat addiction. Yes, you gotta. I appreciate donations; they're awesome. It helps the channel, but I don't want you to spend money unnecessarily if you don't need to be. I guess kind of a thing. You know, kind of on that topic. So the whole thing with the road to 30K, we got it over there. We're at 28,115. But when I get to 30K, I'll be eligible to have the sponsorship option on my channel, like some channels have, where it has that join button at the very bottom. And it's kind of similar to Patreon, where if you join, you get perks. I think it's every YouTube channel has a set price, so you don't think you can change, have different price levels like you can with Patreon. I think it's a set price of $4.99, but each creator can choose what those perks are for that $4.99 kind of perk. I also have a Patreon, so if you are interested in that, ChristopherChaos, it's patreon.com/ChristopherChaos. But I'm thinking if once I get to the point where I do have the sponsorship thing available to it, I might get rid of the Patreon and just use that, because I feel like it's kind of pointless to have both. Some of the perks that I can do with the sponsorship on YouTube would be pretty cool, like being able to have little icons on your guys's next to your guys' name in the chat and also in comments would be cool, especially like for people who are sponsors for a long time. You know, you build up to different kind of levels, and I would kind of use it as a rank structure kind of in a way, since keeping the army theme. And so I might do away with Patreon once I get to that ability, but still have the same perks that are available over at Patreon, but they'll be on here. Now, technically, I'd be making less money because I think that, well, no, I think YouTube. I don't think YouTube takes out as much as Patreon. It might be the same, so it might be basically the same. But the same perks that I have over Patreon would just transfer over to the YouTube sponsorship. So keep an eye out for that. If you want to do the Patreon and get those perks now, you can. ThatChrisChaos, just look it up, or look up patreon.com/ThatChrisChaos. But I think once I get that sponsorship thing, I think I'll just switch solely to that. Had you ever did a practice raid? Yeah, I've done practice ones. I've even done technically a real one. It was pretty lame, but it wasn't anything super dangerous at all. There was a pool house in Iraq, and I don't even know why we were the ones going in to raid it. There was nobody in it. It was empty. But then we had to collect some intel out of there. But I've done practice ones a bunch of times. We had to do it in BNOC when I went through BNOC, which is the leadership course for staff sergeant. And then you just done it in training too. So, I'm thinking about joining the Army after high school, and that's in 6 months, and I took the ASVAB already, but I don't know which MOS is for me because I have 5 MOSs in mind. Yeah, I guess it's going to be a tough situation. I mean, especially, you know, since, you know, if this is going to be a career for you for a long time, especially like, you know, you want to, if you don't like it, then you have to still wait for that initial contract to be towards the end to be able to switch. John, thanks for joining. Thanks for subscribing and joining the Chaos Army if you're here in the live stream. But yeah, I mean, it could be a tough situation making sure you get the right MOS, because you could still pick one that sounds really cool, but you have really crappy experiences, you know, with units or locations or whatever, and it kind of ruins it for you, and then now you hate that MOS. So it can be tough, you know, making the selection. I just picked whatever was kind of available. I half-assed the ASVAB, because at the time when I took the ASVAB, I wasn't sure if I was going to join the military. It was good enough to get into the Army, my score that I had, but it wasn't very high to get me, like, allow me to select from a lot of MOSs, so I just took kind of whatever, because I was only planning to do 4 years and then getting out. But like I said, I've said it before, 4 years turned into 10 years, and I ended up doing 10 years in the Army. Puerto Rico Guard already in Marina Part 2. Yeah, so they're busy. Probably for National Guard over there. Does Mr. Miyagi teach combatives? No. It's usually another soldier that has already gone through all the levels of combatives training that is now certified to be an instructor for combatives. So like when I went through combatives training, our instructor was he a sergeant first class, I think? Or was he a staff? No, he was a sergeant first class. He was a sergeant first class that, you know, was really big into like karate and jiu-jitsu and all that stuff like that, and then went through all the levels of combatives and got certified to be a combatives instructor. And so that was basically his job now in the Army, was to be a combatives instructor. So probably a pretty good deal if that's what you're really into. As an officer, do you also have your contract airborne school and ranger, or is it a different process? So you can get it kind of like enlisted into your contract. Well, it's in your contract? I don't know if it's in your contract though, because as an officer, you're gonna probably either go through ROTC or OCS, so it's a little bit different of a process. But you could still easily do those. Obviously, like I said, you can still do airborne or ranger. In fact, like especially if you're an infantry officer, they kind of look down on it if you don't have ranger, a ranger tab for ranger qualification, not being a ranger, but being ranger qualified as a, you know, going through the ranger school. But I don't know if you can get it. You can probably get an airborne in your contract. I don't know if you can get ranger in your contract, like ranger school. I don't know. Not 100% sure on that. You guaranteed ways to get airborne in your contract. 92 Romeo or 18 X-ray? Yes. But those are enlisted. So So if you're talking like you're talking about for officer, those aren't enlisted MOSs though. Like was it Maroon? I don't know. What was talking about? But those are if he's talking about officer. But if you're on the enlisted side and you want to, you want to go airborne, then yeah, probably like 92 Romeo, 18 X-ray, definitely 18 X-ray. I don't know too much about it if 92 Romeo. It just depends. Is other stuff like drill team a MOS, or can you be an MOS and also be in stuff like drill team? Sort of. So they have honor guard, which does a lot of ceremonies, and that is you can be a different MOS and then apply to be in the honor guard and do all these crazy ceremonies, do parades and all sorts of stuff. So yes, I don't know, they have an MOS for it though. I don't remember if there's an MOS that's dedicated to doing that kind of thing. I think it's more of a thing you have to kind of try out for. I don't think they have a dedicated MOS that does the same stuff like honor guard, like a drill team. I mean, it wouldn't be specifically a drill team. Let's like, when I think of drill team, you know, I'm sure everybody has their own kind of thing in their mind, but I think of like kind of like cheerleaders, right? You know, you're in like cheerleading outfits doing that kind of a thing, which obviously they don't have that in the Army, but they have honor guard where you will dress up in your, dress uniform. You'll be doing a lot of face maneuvers. Sometimes they have the mounted honor guard where you're on a horse. You're doing a lot of other, crazy stuff like that. But I don't know, like, do they have cheerleaders for the Army? But that's just basically cheerleaders, I think. No, they don't. They wouldn't have cheerleaders for West Point. Do they have cheerleaders for the Army football team? I don't know. Anybody who watches college football, I can't think of if I've ever seen cheerleaders, because you wouldn't really have a cheerleading position in West Point. So I don't know. Edward hitting it up with a super chat again. $2. Thanks, Edward. You rock, man. UCMJ odd changes to legal start free speech. What the heck? I'm trying to decipher what you're trying to say here, Edward. UCMJ odd changes to legal stat free speech. The only thing I'm kind of understanding out of this question is, are you trying to say that, like, if you say something against the or something that you call free speech, could they punish you for it? Sort of. You kind of, when you're in the Army, kind of get rid of a lot of those rights that you have as a civilian. Free speech doesn't necessarily really save you from anything in the Army. You could say something out of free speech or whatever, and if it's something offensive or something along those lines, you could still probably get punished in the Army for it. Especially like if you said it to like someone higher ranking, you can't just call it free speech and call some captain an a-hole or something like that. And hey, it's free speech, right? No. So there's a lot of things that don't really apply when you're in the military. Hey Chris, could you talk more about retaking the ASVAB and choosing another MOS? So you could retake the okay, if you take the ASVAB, let's say in high school, right? And you don't score, or anytime really anyway, I guess, and you don't score high enough to get the MOS you want, you can retake it, but you have to wait 30 days to retake it. And then I think you can do it again. So then if, say, like the second attempt, you still don't qualify high enough, you can then again retake it, I believe 30 days after that one, but then for another one, for a third attempt, or would it be third? So you have first, second, so it's either the third or the fourth attempt. Then you have to wait a year, I think it is, before you can retake the ASVAB. Now, when you are already in the Army and you're trying to qualify for another MOS, they have like GT improvement tests you can do in classes, and that'll help you improve your kind of score that they look at for reclassing. And then you can do that to get a better score, basically kind of like on your ASVAB or on your GT to reclass, and that's what you would do if you wanted to switch to another MOS. But you'd still have to wait until towards the end of your Army contract. So if you did a 4-year contract, usually about a year out is when you can look at re-enlistment options. So you'd still have to do about 3 years in the Army, and then kind of look at possible options to reclass to another MOS. if you qualify for it. And then you can re-enlist to say, hey, I want to move from this MOS to another one. And then they're going to send you basically to AIT if you qualified for it. So, if you're going to OCS and you're not infantry, do you need to have them on your contract, or even if you don't, you can still go them on the officer side? So, like, OCS isn't only for infantry. OCS is just another way of going officer. But, yeah, you could still, like, once you're already at your first unit, still request, just like on the enlisted side, request to go to airborne school, if that's what you're still talking about. So, Forrest Gump was not an army movie. What was someone talking about? Oh, you guys were talking about movies. I saw something about someone saying Saving Private Ryan. Forrest Gump wasn't really an army movie. He was in the army though, wasn't he? Wasn't that what he was in? But yeah, it only has a small part where he does Vietnam. 92 Romeo is what I was, parachute rigger. I had to pass airborne school even before starting AIT. Craziness, Edward, or Jay the Born. I was about to read Edward's comment below that. How does UCMJ change your legal status, crimes, trials, running for office? I don't think, like, running for office, like you're trying to be, man, and then Edward's got a super chat too. All right, well, let me answer your first question, and then I'll try to get you the second question. Man, Edward. How does UCMJ change your legal status, crimes, trials, running for office? So, if you had like a really punishable thing, like with UCMJ, and you weren't a U.S. citizen yet, you just had a green card, then yeah, they could probably deport you. But that's also the same circumstance of someone getting kicked out of the army, probably. So it's probably pretty serious, anyways. Running for office, if you're talking about like you wanted to run for office, but you weren't, if you were not American, like, it depends on what you're running for, because only certain things allow you to do it without being a born U.S. citizen. But I don't think UCMJ, like previous UCMJ stuff, could really affect your running for office. Like if you wanted to be a senator or a mayor or whatever, I don't think that would really affect it. But now, let's get to your also other question, Edward. For the $2 donation, thank you. Can you run for office while in the Army or the reserves? No, because you wouldn't be able to do your duties. Now, maybe in the reserves, yes, possibly. Maybe. Well, I guess because you're talking about guard or reserves, because I'm thinking active duty. Because you wouldn't be able to do it on active duty. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen anything like that, where someone was in the reserves or the guard and did anything like mayor or anything. It might be possible, but the difficult part is if you're like, say, like you're a mayor, and then you have to go do drill week in the reserves, or you have to go do, training in the guard, then that means you have to leave your responsibilities of being that mayor, being that senator behind for those 2 weeks. And if you get deployed, what if you get deployed? Then that's even probably a more difficult situation. So I'm going to think maybe in some cases, but it depends on maybe what it is that you're trying to do. Like if you were trying to be like a mayor or a senator, I don't feel like you could do that. But maybe certain lower things, like maybe if you're just trying to be like a treasurer, that someone could fill in for you while you were gone. I don't know. But yeah, I would imagine it'd probably be pretty difficult. Can you take a practice ASVAB at a recruiting office? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have practice ones. They also have a lot of practice ones online too, so you can do a lot of those ones. You can easily just do a Google search for like practice ASVAB test, and you can do some practice ones there. But I'm pretty sure the recruiting office also has like a practice one you can do too. So you can do either or, really. It's my birthday today. Thank you for your service. Well, happy birthday, Nathan. Everybody should say happy birthday to Nathan in the chat if you want to. We should wish fellow person here at Chaos Live happy birthday. A congressman was just elected while he was in prison, so I don't think it would matter. How in the heck did someone get elected while they were in prison? Did someone just not pay attention to like all the stuff of who they were voting for? That's weird. So we are coming up. We're now at the 1 hour mark, so we'll probably cut it off here pretty soon. A few admin things, my usuals. You know, if you, let's see here, let me get all that stuff. I don't have it up already. If you have never been to my website, you can go to ChristopherChaos.com. There is a store area inside of here, and you can get some awesome Chaos t-shirts if you're interested in that. Also, I think I have coffee mugs. Yeah, there's coffee mugs stuff too. It's just a third party that I go through. I don't actually handle any of this stuff. I designed the logo, obviously, and then they put it on here, and if you buy a t-shirt, I get a small commission from it that helps the channel. So there are Chaos t-shirts out there if you want to purchase one of those. There is the Patreon, but as I was talking about a minute ago, probably once I reach that 30K subscribers and I qualify for sponsorship on YouTube, this will probably go away, and I'll probably just use the sponsorship option on YouTube, because I think it'll give me some better perks on YouTube with allowing you guys to have cool icons next to your name if you are a member of the sponsorship kind of program thing for YouTube. And then I do have a contest running, ChristopherChaos.com. If you go there, I think it's ChristopherChaos.com/road to 30K. But if you go to ChristopherChaos.com, there is a link to my website, like down in the description on my channel. You can possibly win an awesome ammo can. I don't have the picture there, but you can win an ammo can full of loot. All you got to do is, you know, try to help me get to that 30,000 subscriber mark by maybe sharing an image. There's one right here that you can easily just right click and download if you like, and share it on social media. You can post flyers, whatever you want to do. The more different ways that you share about my channel, and then take screenshots and email me proof that you did so, gives you multiple entries into the contest. We've only got a couple right now, so it's kind of in danger of not lasting for too long. I think Skechers Kid Gaming, you're in here. You're one of those entries, I think, of the very, very few. It may come down to just Skechers Kid Gaming and one other person winning the prizes. So if you want to be in the running for winning an awesome ammo can and also a bonus prize, then you should head over to ChristopherChaos.com after the stream is over and maybe check out that contest and think about maybe possibly, you know, signing up for the contest and possibly winning a cool ammo can of loot. Because, you know, who doesn't like free stuff, right? All you have to do is just try to get some people in your neighborhood on your social media or something to subscribe to Christopher Chaos. Help me get to 30,000 subscribers. That's all you got to do. Oh, and also, if you want a sticker, I do have stickers still. And you can just send me a self-addressed envelope, preferably with a stamp already on it, to this address here. This address is also in the description as well. So if you want to check it out in the description, you don't have to like hurry up and take a picture of this or write it down right now. But you can go down in the description later and get it. Send me a self-addressed envelope, I'll send you back a sticker. Also, if you just want to send me, I don't know, a letter, if you want to send me a unit patch, if you want to send me candy, I don't know. Whatever, you know, whatever that's not dangerous, it's not going to, you know, get you in trouble for sending illegal items through the mail. But that is the P.O. box, if you're interested in that. So yeah, we'll do a couple more questions. We're going to cut it off. I might, keyword might, do a gaming live stream in a few hours after this. So if you're interested in that, then you can look for the notification, and I may do that. But I still have some work to do on the Save and Able DVD. So I don't know. Like I said, maybe there might be one in a few hours if I feel up to it. All right, so we'll see. So you can run for office in the guard. Or we already talked about that, didn't we? Or is that just someone repeating about it? Let's see. Awesome. I see awesome people wishing Nathan a happy birthday since he said it was his birthday in here. Leaving June 10th for Fort Jackson. Any advice to go to basic training? Just make sure you're in good shape. It'll help you out. I mean, they're going to whip you into shape like crazy in basic training. But if you can already go into basic training in fairly decent shape, it makes it much easier. I did not do that, and so it made it a little bit complicated. So, but yeah, being in good shape is one of the key things to kind of go for. And then watch my video. Watch my video on, what was it, 5 mistakes, common mistakes, or 5 mistakes you could make in basic training, and don't do those things. That'll also help you out. Let's see. Leaving June. Already answered yours. You ask the same question later. So we'll do a couple questions, and then that's gonna cut it off. And then, like I said, maybe in a few hours we'll do a gaming live stream. It depends. We'll see how motivated I am. I got a new green screen. That's an Elgato green screen. and I kind of want to try it out, because before I was doing the gaming live stream with hanging up a regular green screen that you're supposed to mount on like one of my photography stands that I have, and I had it just clipped to the ceiling. But I got this cool green screen stand that's pretty awesome and very portable and fancy from Elgato that I want to try out. So I might try that out later. Jay the Vorn got to go. Well, we're about to end it. But yes, I definitely agree with Jay the Vorn. If you are here in the live stream and you have not yet shown the live stream some love and hit that thumbs up button, make sure you do so. We're at 27 viewers as of I'm seeing right now, and only 17 likes. That's pretty low. So you gotta make sure to smash that like button if you're having a good time. If you enjoyed Chaos Live. If you're watching this after it was live and you still have questions, make sure to leave your questions down in the comment section. I try to get to them as well. And if you're enjoying it and you watched this far, maybe also hit the like button. Just saying. Because awesome people hit the like button. That's all I'm saying. How are the glasses they make for you? I wear contacts. Not a fan of glasses. They're really cheap. They look like crap. They call them birth control glasses, BCGs, because you look horrible in those glasses. But they basically make really cheap ones, so that way if you did break them, it's not, expensive for the Army to have to give you another pair, while you're in basic training, because you're doing a lot of, physical activities and all sorts of stuff. So they're really cheap made, and they just look like crap. They're horrible. Funny basic training moments. I don't know if I can think of anything right offhand. I probably have to think about it. Basic training was a long time ago for me. I did basic training in 1999. That was a long time ago. All right, let's see. If you could be an MOS other than 88 Mike, what would it be? I've said this before, and I always forget the damn MOS. I know we talked about it before, and someone told me one MOS that sounded like the guys that do like the Armed Forces Network, but then there's another one that's a documentary. It was like a 25 Victor or something like that. Is that what it was? It is. Oh, man, that was a good guess. 25 Victor would be what I'd be interested in. That is the Combat Documentation Production Specialist. I think that would be a pretty cool MOS. If I knew about that, when I joined the Army, I wasn't interested in video production. I didn't build an interest for video production until later. So, but now that would be probably, I'd rather do it as a civilian, but yeah, 25 Victor would be pretty cool. That would be a pretty awesome MOS. All right, one more question, and then we're gonna cut this off. I'm looking for the next question. I would love to do mortuary affairs. That's awesome. That's not really a question, so I won't really count that. Our music ran out too, so that definitely tells us that it's time to end the stream here. I'm looking for the last question. Public affairs for 68, 46 Romeo, 46 Quebec. Yeah, no, that 25 Victor sounds like it'd be pretty cool. There was a guy in it was the last live stream who said that he was going to the Army with that, and I was like, you got to hit me up and let me know how that is, because I would love to hear stories about what that MOS is like. It sounds like it'd be a pretty cool MOS. For me, anyways. I mean, if you're not into video production, then probably not. Is there no more last questions? Second to cut it off? Are we gonna end it here with no last question? I think so. I feel like that is what we're gonna do. That's cool. That's fine. Like I said, if you are watching this and it's not live anymore, but you had a question, or you had a question earlier that didn't get answered, make sure to leave it in the comment section. I'll see those comments later and be able to do so. Would you ever be a drill sergeant? It seems like it'd be fun, but then you have to go through drill sergeant school, which is like going through basic training almost all over again, because you have like people yelling at you, but then they're also teaching you how to yell at people. I don't know. I feel like the drill sergeant school would suck really bad, but I don't know. It'd be kind of fun, but I'm not sure. So that'll be the final question we end off on. Like I said, if you guys haven't already, hit the like button, hit that like button. Thanks for watching. I do these every weekend. If you are new and this was your first episode to hang out for Chaos Live, then make sure you come back next weekend. I don't know if I'll do it on a Saturday or a Sunday, but usually one of those 2 days. And then sometimes we'll do some bonus ones. Like I might, in a few hours, do a gaming bonus one live stream. So if you want to come back and watch me do really crappy at some video games, then come back for a gaming episode. Maybe later tonight. But that'll do it, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. See ya.